What if everything you were ever told about success was a lie? You know, we've heard a lot of things, and today I'm going to talk about one of the greatest lies that is impacting all of us as professionals, as entrepreneurs, even as just everyday leaders. What if the things that we just really hold true, the things that we really just know to be right about success are actually completely wrong? Let's get into it. All right, it's time to go deeper and to really understand one of the biggest lies that we've been told. Now, I want you to consider for a minute that when we think about what success really is, what is it that trained our thinking on that? What is it that actually puts something in our mind about what success is and what it takes to get it? Now, I want to go to my whiteboard for a minute. I want to explain to you some of the things that we have to break away from, some equations that's been etched into our brain, and some new things that we need to understand about the triangle of life. Now, I want to explain to you, let's think for a minute about hard work. Now, what we've been really taught is that if we begin to have hard work, and this hard work can lead us to success, right? And this success means to us more money, but also more control. So this is oftentimes the equation that people actually look at is through my hard work, right? If I work harder, I will create more success. Now, the reality is when you think about working hard, something is for sure going to happen. You're going to get tired. So hard work will lead to you being tired for sure, and it does not always lead to success because we all know many people, and we've been guilty of it as well, where we worked hard, but we didn't really feel that we were successful. So this lets us know that hard work and success are not something that is a unilateral equation that always works for everyone. Now, this doesn't mean that we should be lazy or slothful or not do the things that matter, right? Doesn't mean we should be slackers, right? Doesn't mean that we should not work hard, but we want to understand what is it that actually creates success, and then what is success? So I want to introduce you to a very important triangle. And when we begin to break this triangle down, we'll begin to destroy this lie that we all need to have hard work to lead to success. And success is to have more money, more control, right? So when we begin to dispense with that, we enter into something else. Now, I want to go back to the whiteboard here, and I want to explain something to you. A very, very important triangle that I want you to understand. So when we think about this triangle, I want you to consider for a minute, at the top of this triangle, we have health. And then we have time. And then we have money. Now, this particular triangle is the most important triangle in all of our lives. You say, well, I'm a professional. I don't care. You say, well, I'm an entrepreneur. I don't care. You say, well, I have a lot of money. I don't care. I don't have no money. I don't care. This triangle is for all of us the answer and the key to everything we will get out of life, or the things that we won't get out of life. Let's break this down. So when we think about health for a minute, we all know that health is a very important element because it is the pinnacle of this triangle, because it is nothing more important, because if I don't have my health, it renders time and money irrelevant. So number one, the first focus for all of us that we have to begin to think about is the reality that we have to be concerned about our health. So you could say, I'm successful and just came into $10 million, hey, $10 billion. But if you don't have your health, none of that matters, right? Because you can't even enjoy it. In fact, you may not even be here to enjoy it if your health goes too far. So when we go back here, I want you to consider that this is priority number one. Now, The next thing I want to talk about is our time. Now, isn't it interesting? We all have 24 hours in a day. And sometime, how many of you have ever heard this? Let me know in the chat. Have you ever heard this that, time, you begin to talk about how, time is money. Time is money. Hey, hurry up. Time is money. Hey, let's get this going. Time is money. Hey, don't waste, on this job. Time is money. Hey, let's get it going. How many of you have heard that, right? We've all heard this phrase. The reality is time is not money. Time is infinitely more greater than money because time is a scarce resource to all of us, and money is a plentiful, abundant resource to all of us. We can make money and we can lose money and make money again. We cannot lose time and make time again. There will never be another today. There will never be another yesterday. There will never be another tomorrow. These things only come around once, and when time is gone, time is gone. So we think about, we've got 24 hours in a day, but yet those days are passing by. So we have to put a preeminence on the value of time. So when you understand this, you'll shift your thinking about time and money. We shouldn't be spending all of our time trying to make more money. We should be spending all of our money trying to get more time. It's a very different way of thinking. Speaking of that, the third element, though, that is important, you can see here, is money. Because in life, it takes money to be able to operate your life. So anything you want to do in life, it's going to require money. So you can't get away from the importance of money because you can have all the time in the world, but not need money to do anything with the time you have. So money is another critical thing. It is the way that we exchange value to get the things that we want. It's why we talk about goods. You ever heard of goods and services? Well, goods are things that are supposed to be good for you, good to you, things that you want, that you think are good. And we can't go get goods unless we have money. Back in the olden days, money may have been cattle. Money may have been metals. Money may have been crops. Whatever it was, if you were on a barter system at different points in history, money became different things. We saw a period of time where all money was backed by gold. Now we're living in a time of fiat currency, and money can be printed. Money is on the screen. Money only works if the person you are giving it to sees it as value and will exchange things with you for that value. So money gives us the ability to exchange money for the thing that we want. We never spend money because of an equal value. We only give money for something we think is higher in value and then exchange that money for the thing that we feel is worth more than the money. If we didn't think it was worth more than the money, we wouldn't give the money up. But because we do think it's worth more than money, we then are willing to give the money up. So I want you to notice something about these three things. Let's go back to the whiteboard here. So when you think about this, I want you to think about this for a minute. Health really gives us capability, right? Because without your health, you're not capable of doing anything. You can't go and do what you want if you don't feel good. You can't go and enjoy life. You can't go and have that conversation. You can't go and do that thing that you enjoy, right? So health is, number one, giving us the capability. Am I capable to do anything in life? It all starts with our health. That's why we can't ignore what we eat. We can't ignore how often we move, and we can't ignore how much we sleep. These elements are so critical to what we require in terms of having good health. We can't afford not to find out what runs in our family and get all of our proper testing. We can't ignore these issues because eventually, if you don't listen to the whispers, you will hear the screams later. It might come at a doctor appointment for you, but you will lose your capability if you don't do what's required to increase your capability by taking care of your body, taking care of yourself, right? Let's look at time. Time gives us availability. Availability. Now, this is very important, right? Because we need to be available to do things. And time, it gives us the space and the flexibility to do the things that we want. So if you have no time, you're not available. So you don't have the space and the room in which to live your life. So if I am, working and I'm making a lot of money, but there's no time to do anything that I enjoy, am I really available? You say available to who? Available to me. Available to people I love, available to my family, available to things that matter in my life. If you're not careful, you don't have any availability because you're not conscious of where your time is going. Very, very critical. Now, let's go back here and let's think about money. Money gives us possibility. Possibility. Now, when you think about possibility, when you have money, it is possible for you to do all kinds of things. So sometimes there's things you want to do, but your bank account says that's not possible, right? So this is why money literally begins to give you the possibilities in life. Because when I have money, anything is possible as far as my money can reach. If I want to go on vacation, I can go because money made it possible. If I want to get another vehicle, how can I? Money made it possible. If there's a certain thing I like in my home, if there's a decoration that I like, if there's something that I like as a hobby, and I want to, invest in something that, I feel makes me happy, I can only do that if I have the money to make it possible. So this is why money is also extremely important. So when you understand this, we expose the lie here where people have told us it's all about, hard work that will create the success, and success is money and control. Well, we find it out, no, that's not what success really is. It's not all about hard work. In fact, as you begin to learn you don't want to work harder, but work higher, at a higher frequency, at a higher level, using higher levels of skill that require less of your time and less of your effort to get the things that you need to fulfill this triangle. So we start to understand and we redefine where the real problem lies. The problem lies in how we begin to operate around the triangle that I just went over with you. And now it's time to move a little bit deeper into this topic. In society, everyone glorifies hustle, money, and status, but they ignore things like burnout and lack of freedom. How many people do we know who we thought were successful? We thought they were on the mountaintop. We thought they had it all, just to find out that they were going home and really not feeling free at all. How many people were trying to numb themselves from all the things that people showered them with through praise and honor, but yet deep down inside, they felt so lonely. They felt like they didn't have anything that really mattered. How many times were we shocked when someone's health just took them over and we didn't know they were dealing with something that they weren't able to address because they were caught up in the traffic of life and all the things that was around them, and they appeared to be doing fine, but yet they were ignoring something that was literally taking a little piece of their life every single day. We've seen this with athletes. We've seen this with celebrities. We've seen all the stories behind the music with great entertainers. We've seen so many people that just appeared to be more than they were. But the reality is, if we don't really understand what success really is, if we don't really understand that there's something deeper we should be thinking about, we will go down the same pattern that we're being shown to every single day. See, when we talk about society, I want you to remember something. Society is all taking place right in front of us. Everything that we watch on social media, every show that we watch, every movie that begins to train our brain of what's supposed to matter, what is supposed to be great, what is supposed to be important. All these things have wired us to think a certain way about ourselves. And that is why we need to think about this topic. We need to understand what is the effect that all of this has had on how we see ourselves and what we do to other people and what we do with our priorities every single day. This is why something must be done, and we are going to talk about what we need to do. All right, so we have demystified the lie about success is about working hard and then getting money and control, right? It's about status and all this stuff. Like, we've demystified that. And now we want to talk about, well, what really is success? What should we be striving for? And by the way, I want you to think about what I went over with you, that triangle, right? We talked about health, time, and money. Let me know in the chat, which one of these areas, which one of these things are impacting you the most right now? Is it health? Is it time? Is it money? Where do you need to do better? Which thing kind of stands out to you that I need to focus on that a little bit more, or change the way I'm looking at that? Or, give some examples. I love reading the comments. I want you to think about this. When you think about what really success is, what should we be striving for? I want you to consider something very, very key. Now, let's go back here, and we're going to go to the whiteboard, and I'm going to draw a smaller triangle here. And we talked about how this triangle is really, we dealt with health, we dealt with time, and we talked about money. Okay? Now, I want you to think about this for a minute. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to move this health over to the side just a little bit, but you all know it's the top and pinnacle of the triangle. Now, what I want you to notice about this is when you think about a triangle and the way it's positioned, if it has, a strong foundation and it's built right with this little point, it actually creates something. So I want you to think for a minute. I'm going to use a different color here. And so if I use something here and kind of see this triangle as something that is at the top of this, and what I've done is created like a lever. And so let's say if I had, let me use another color here, like, a big brown boulder that I needed to move, right? And I could never move this boulder by myself. But what I've done is I've created a lever. And this is where we come with the word leverage. So leverage is related to the word lever. And what leverage is being able to use less energy and effort to get a greater output. So less of an input in and get a greater output out. So what's so powerful about this is, just as I drew this kind of triangle, think about a lever for a minute. If I could take a lever on the top of that triangle, it allows me to lift things that are heavier than I would be able to lift. And this is why I call all of this the freedom levers. The freedom levers of health, time, and money. And so these freedom levers, you got to have every part of this triangle for it to build the lever. And these three, levers, if you will, are all of them that can work together as a lever, but they're three freedom levers, but this will help you remember it. It's how the decisions I make about my health will give distinct levers for me to lift up the life of wellness that I actually want. What I do with my time, it will either be a lever to me having a more fulfilling life or not. The way I approach my time, what I use it for, how I track it, how I manage it, deciding when to have balance and when to have focus, because you can't have both. You got to understand when you need to heavily focus on something, you can have balance. When you need to balance everything out so that you can make sure every area of your life is getting what it needs. Learning how to use your time to dictate those things becomes a lever. Understanding money. When you understand how to use money to invest, and not just spend it, or how to leverage debt versus getting in debt, right? Bad debt. All these things, when you learn how to pull the levers right, it allows you to lift something bigger. And this is what we're talking about, right? So in the end, as we begin to lift this up, let's go back to the whiteboard here for a minute. So as we begin to lift this up, I'm gonna go back and get this brown color. As we lift up this boulder, we begin to create what I call the ultimate freedom. The ultimate freedom. Now, you've heard people talk about, financial freedom. People talk about being freed from certain things in their life, anxieties, depression, whatever it may be. You know, people talk about just having freedom in society. But what is the ultimate freedom? The ultimate freedom is when we're able to use these levers to get freedom with our wellness, in our work, as well as in our wealth. Because all three of those areas are critical. When we deal with wellness, we're dealing with our mind, we're dealing with our being, we're dealing with so many different elements. Even health is in there. We deal with work. We got to do something to make money. And if we don't have work freedom, how much time do I have to spend at work to get the money that I need to survive? There's got to be a freedom I'm working on there. And then there's wealth itself. How do I get money to be growing on its own? When all three of these work in unison and come together, then I have the ultimate freedom. And I'm able to live life on my terms as a freedom leader because I've understood what really matters and what to be striving for. How can you get to a goal that you don't have? If you don't understand that the goal is the ultimate freedom, you will be striving for one specific aspect of life and wondering why you never feel right, why you never feel fulfilled, why you never feel that you got everything where it needed to be. We want to change that dynamic today. You want to look at your life differently. If you don't realize that there's these different elements that you need to win in, you won't be playing the game to win in those things because you don't see the game you're supposed to be in. This is why we're here today. And this is what success really looks like when you really begin to demystify the lie of success to get to the true success of the ultimate freedom. Now, I want to give you some really critical final thoughts. So I hope you can see that the ultimate freedom is not what we have been taught it to be. That success, it has nothing to do with just having money, but it really is about having a life of freedom in distinct areas that gives us the ultimate freedom. See, this is why we have to be just really delivered from the potential of living a lie. Now, when I say living a lie, I'm not saying you or me intentionally are trying to live a lie, but if we were told a lie and we are designing our life to fit within that lie, we end up living a lie. So what we want is the truth that we could really begin to be made free so that we can actually have what life was supposed to be giving us and what we're supposed to be getting out of life. Now, I want you to consider for a minute, where there might be real things that you are dealing with, real issues that you might be struggling and grappling with because of what you were told, because of how you approach things, because of all the things you heard. And I want to challenge you to think deeper about where might you be able to make adjustments. Let me know in the comments if there's things that are kind of hitting you to know, here's an area I might be living a lie. Here's an area that maybe I need to go to another, distinct way of looking at this so that I can get a better result. This whole thing we call life is an experience. And it comes from a bundle of decisions that we make over time that all accumulate into either a fulfilling life or a life that we resent and have regrets about. We have to make a clear, distinct, decision that we are going to be intentional about what we want and what we actually want to achieve. And that can only come by having discussions like this to make sure that you actually design and live your life on purpose to be able to have the ultimate freedom. So, having said that, I want to make sure that you keep doing all that you can to stay connected to our events and all the things we have to help people around this topic. This is our heart, helping people get to the ultimate freedom. And I hope you will do that very thing one step at a time, or should I say, by moving one lever at a time. Until next time, I'll see you soon.